Welcome to the heart of this course, the hiking part. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope you enjoy this. I'm glad you decided to take the course again. And this is what you came for. This is what you wanted to find out about. And I know all my experiences I've had in the last 30 years of doing this are going to help you keep you from making mistakes I did, and you're going to know a lot more than what I did when I started, and save you a lot of pain, a lot of blood, a lot of tears. I'm hoping. So, with that. First thing we're going to talk about is bears, and not the kind that you worry about finding in the woods. We're going to talk about those too, but a little bit later. This is bears. This is the basics. We're going to talk about elevation, altitude, running, and safety. So all those things we're going to cover, and much more. But first of all, the basics. 10 essentials. Everywhere you go, you'll find people talking about the 10 essentials that you need to have with you every time you go hiking. Well, most of them you need to have. Depends on where you're going to go, how long you're going to be there, what kind of a challenge is it going to be for you. And then you can decide what you need to take, what you don't need. One of the first things, and some of these things we're going to mention over and over again, they're going to come up later on in the course. But navigation, you need a map, you need a compass. I carry a compass, for example. Let's see, my compass is here. There we go. I carry a compass, old school. Most people have GPS devices. They're also satellite messengers. The coolest one, I like to get that, is called the Spot Gen 3. It's $149, but you can text somebody if you're having problems, and you can send a emergency signal and all that. So a personal locator beacon, especially if you're going to go in the snow someplace, especially if you're going to be stupid and go up in someplace that has a reputation for avalanches, you might want to make sure you got one of those. So headlamps. I carry 2 headlamps because Navy SEALs say that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And can you imagine, they said, when I looked up the 10 essentials, because I want to make sure I didn't forget anything, they said bring extra batteries. Can you imagine, it's pitch dark outside, you got 1 headlamp and it goes out, and you're going, I gotta change batteries. Oh yeah, no problem, pitch dark, I can do that. I can hardly do it when I got the light on. So bring 2 headlamps if you're going to hike in the dark. And I always go an hour and a half, 2 hours before sunrise. So I carry 2. These are the 2 I carry. This one here's my backup. And then I got this one here. So these 2. So I'm good. And I always check the batteries and make sure they're good on both of them before I go. So that's really important. Headlamp. Sun protection, especially if you're going in the snow. I mean, you have sunglasses if it's sunny out, fine. But if you're going to be in the woods all the time, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if you're going to be in the snow, you're going to have this glacier glasses, actually, is what you need. Even wraparound kinds, so it really protects your eyes, because you can get blinded by the snow. And then slather that sunscreen on so you don't get burnt everywhere. Behind the ears, nose, eyes, everything. Back of your hands if you're not wearing gloves. And so sun protection, it talks about sun. There are certain kind of shirts you can get that protect you from the sun. And first aid, make sure you got some foot care in there. But everything you need for a first aid kit. Knives and knife and repellent or repair kit. Yeah, well, that's true. You want a repair kit with you. One of the things I do is I carry something called a Leatherman, which is kind of a repair kit all in one thing. It's a knife, it's got pliers, it's got everything on it. Screwdriver, all kinds of little knives, and bottle openers, and it just works. The Leatherman. Get yourself a Leatherman, carry it with you all the time. See? This one, Leatherman. Fire, matches, lighter, stove if you're overnight, obviously. Shelter, lightweight bivvy, just in case. And again, I think if you're not going overnight, I don't think you need that, especially if you're going to go on a popular trail someplace. If you drop, you keel over, then somebody's going to find you. But extra food, extra water, always, and extra clothes, always. Especially if the weather's like kind of shaky. Those are the 10 essentials. So, more basics. Pack. So, my pack right now has 50 pounds of water in it. It's a basic pack. Let me tell you a story. So, I was hiking with some guys. This was a few years ago, and one of the guys was a mountaineer. He was a guide, and he had a huge big pack on his back. He carried everything, all the 10 essentials plus some, everything. And we were all done with the hike and going down. I said, Bill, he says you need to get a real pack. And I was carrying, this little thing. He says, book bags don't work. So I decided I better get a bag. The pack I got now is just a day pack because I don't do overnights, rarely unless I'm going on an expedition or something like that. So I just do carry the day pack, but it's a pack. You can carry lots of water, you can carry lots of clothes and extra stuff. And get a rain cover for your pack if you live in an area where it rains, because otherwise everything's going to get wet and messed up. So make sure that you have a rain pack cover. Boots and gaiters. So boots, I use Solomon's. I have the Solomon boots. They're lightweight, but they're also protect my ankles. But whatever you prefer. Some people like trail runners. The trail runners like the trail runners, but some people like trail runners. They don't like the high top because they think it's making their ankles weak if they have a high top. They might have a point. So, socks. I have my sock here someplace. Here, I gotta show you my sock. Get some smart wool. Smart wool keep you cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Smart wool. You can also get smart wool shorts. Smart wool shorts. They keep you from chafing. So those are good. What else? Socks, smart wool, trekking poles. Oh, if you got bad knees, you need these. 2 of them, preferably. You need one more. One for each hand. So, are otherwise known as hiker's canes. But I'll tell you, if you got bad knees like me, and I've had 1 knee surgery, and I tore a quad tendon in my right leg here a few years ago. It's interesting. Never had surgery on that, and it's actually the stronger leg of the two. Because the meniscus surgery on my left knee is just, you're never quite the same, and all kinds of arthritis and problems with it. But I have arthritis in the right knee as well. I'm a mess. So trekking poles. If you got bad knees, you need these, and it's been proven that they take the stress off the knees and the feet. And I use them not going uphill. I use them going downhill. I have no trouble going uphill. It's coming downhill stuff. It saves your knees if you have these. Plus, I run down the hill, which I don't recommend for people with bad knees. But that's okay, because you don't have to run down the hill like me. You don't have to be a nut. You don't have to be a nutcase like old Bill Montgomery is. You just have to do what I tell you to do. So, there we go. So we got trekking poles out of the way, huh? And by the way, I do wear them. I do use my trekking poles when I'm going up in the snow, just because it's a little bit more balance. So, hiking pants. Trust me on this. You might think you can go up in your jeans, and you can. I've seen people on the trail in jeans and sneakers, and they're fools. Well, they just like misery. These things are stretchy, right? And they dry out really fast. So if you're in the rain, get some regular hiking pants. I've got Arctex, but you can get anything you want. Arctex, I think, will last longer than the others. I've had some from REI before that kind of fell apart after a little bit. But these have lasted quite a while. And they're real stretchy. So hiking pants and Microspikes. If you're going to climb in the snow, you need Microspikes. And there's 3 kinds of traction devices you can get. There's yak tracks, and they're just like, they're rubber, go over the boot, kind of like these, except they're crisscross with little wire devices. They're not like these. See, these have the spikes on the ends. So they dig into the ice, and they work really well when it's icy. And they don't work so well in the soft snow, but you can still keep them on. They won't hurt you in the soft snow. And if you happen to hit a patch of something that's in the shade, or you hit a patch of icy stuff, then you're not going to go down. And I'll tell you a story about going down in the snow later on. Microspikes, got to have them. And then, unless I tell the young kids, I say, hey, they say, what do you need those for? Well, you don't need them, because if you break your leg, you heal up like that. But if I break my leg, it takes me a lot longer. So, gloves. Make sure you got a good pair of gloves, especially if you're using trekking poles, because otherwise you'll beat your hands up. And if it's cold, obviously you need them, but it helps you in coming downhill. Electrolytes, really important. You want to make sure that you don't get depleted and have problems with things like cramps, and we'll talk about cramps later too. But electrolytes are really important. And in fact, actually, I don't think I even have anything on cramps, and I was going to put it in the course I didn't. So let's talk a little bit about cramps right now, because I get cramps after hiking, and I've tried all kinds of things. I found that magnesium at night. I take a certain kind of magnesium glycate. I'm going to advertise a product here if I can grab it really quick. Let's see. Yeah. I use something called Mag-R&R, which is a magnesium glycate, I believe is a glycate. And it really makes a difference at night. I also have some magnesium lotion I put on. I've also used TheraWorks. Anything I can have the edge on, I will take the magnesium, especially the longer the hike, the worse I have a problem I have. And so it's different for everybody. And they don't really know the reason for cramps. I mean, they haven't figured it out exactly. All you have to do is this. Worst case is you get those little leg cramp pills, but they're called quinine, and quinine is not good for your eyesight and some other things. I think it's not that good for you. So if you can avoid that, do it. But that's like it's the last resort. You know, you tried everything, all of a sudden you're still getting cramps, and I had a really bad cramp on the way home from Mount Rainier one time, and I almost went off the road. So make sure you take care of those cramps. All right, so hat and baklava. So a hat is something I recommend, so you don't have to worry about ticks. If you're in certain areas of the country, you got to worry about ticks. At least you don't have to worry about ticking on your head. And then, of course, hornets, wasps, or bees coming after. I've had bees coming after. I was running down this hill one time, and the kids had stirred up bees' nests in a log. I didn't know, because I went on up the hill, up the mountain. It was no problem. I didn't bother them. But by the time I got back down, they were all stirred up. So they chased me, but I had a hat on, and it came down on the back of my neck. I could hear them, but they didn't get me. And of course, if you're bald like me, you need a hat. So, hats and baklava. Baklava, it's just a face mask, and it's great, especially if it's cold. If you got a lot of wind and cold, it'll help make a difference on your face. Your nose won't get as numb. Your chin won't get as numb. So, there you go. So, baklava. Body glide. So, for Navy SEALs, I learned this from the Navy SEALs. They use body glide for their feet and in between their legs, so they don't shout. And it can make all the difference for your feet. You don't get the blisters. You don't get that irritation, especially if it's a really long hike. I put it on the bottom of my feet, between my toes, on top of my feet, up my ankles. It's great stuff. Body glide. And then I mentioned the carb binder. Yeah, so carb binders, if you're not familiar with what a carb binder is, I'm not going to pick up that pack. I'm going to just take it off and show you what it is. So that's a carb binder. And I just hook it on my pack so my water bottle can hang off of it. That's all. Simple. And ice axe. You probably don't need an ice axe unless you're going to climb to the top of a 14,000 foot mountain and you have to do ice arrests. But it's something to think about if you're thinking about that. Learn how to use it though. You have to be trained how to use it. It doesn't take that long to get trained how to use it, but I prefer the trekking poles. Some people just, if you don't have knee problems, you could use, in the snow, you could just use an ice axe. You're probably better for glissading than the trekking poles are, because trekking poles, you can use them for glissading, but it's up to you. Oh, glissading. Glissading is when you're sliding down the mountain. You know, it's like a man-made sliding area in the snow. Elevation. Elevation is important because when you're starting out, you don't want to try to tackle a 3,800 foot elevation gain. Start out with a ridge. You're just starting out. Start out with a ridge, something's 1,500 feet, you know, elevation gain, maybe a couple miles long. And go for that, and then keep increasing it, and then you got to be familiar with all the mountain elevation gains, just so before you go, so you know what you're in for. Altitude will make a huge difference. If you're at 5,000 feet when you start, and you're going up to 10,000 feet, that's a lot different than starting out at sea level and going to 5,000 feet. You don't have as much oxygen. You need more calories, so you need to take more food. Be prepared. So beware of the altitude where you're at. The higher the mountain, the more difficult it is. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too later. So altitude climatization. Oh yeah, if you get a chance, if you're going up 10,000 feet or more, if you can, spend a day at 5,000 feet or so. But if you can't, like I go to Mount Rainier and climb to Camp Muir every year, and I'm going from sea level to 10,000 feet in one day. So it takes me 16 hours round trip to go up there and come back home. Well, that's not the best of situations, but I do it once a year. It's not like I'm doing it all the time. So, but keep that in mind. If you can acclimatize yourself, you people in Denver, I admire you because you're already at 7,000 feet. Man, you go to a 14,000 foot mountain and you got 7,000 foot elevation gain and you're at 14,000 feet. Woohoo! Man, oh man. So trail runners, talk a little bit about running. As I mentioned, I run downhill, but these guys and gals run uphill, and you got to admire that. I used to be a marathon runner. When I was in my 30s, I'd run 50, 60 miles a week, and then I'd run marathons, the 10Ks and the 15Ks and marathons, and then I hurt my back. And doctor said, no more running for you. I believed him. I shouldn't have believed him at the time because, doctors didn't know what they're talking about. I'm fine now. Time heals. But anyway, if I had known about trail running back then, I might have switched and done that instead of the hiking. I'm not sure. So I really admire these people. And trail running burns 10% more calories than regular road running. When I was road running, I could eat anything I wanted, anything. So, and it also improves your balance and agility. So hey, if you think you want to run, you'd rather run. If you're a runner now, and you just kind of like to get outdoors more, but into the forest, woods and stuff, hey, be a trail runner. Carry the little tiny packs on your back. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how they do it, because they're running downhill like that, and man, now I'd be on my face. So take a look at why hiking's good for you. And we talked about this, I think, before in another video, but it improves your blood pressure if you've got high blood pressure, and some of you folks are a little bit older, maybe doc's got you on some medication. It'll improve your blood pressure. It decreases cholesterol. Yeah, that's right. And then helps you control your weight and it's a 1 mile hiking it burns over 500 calories, and then it's a healthy habit. You know, always looking to get rid of the bad habits and take on new good habits. It's just a healthy habit to have, and improves bone density because you're pounding down on those bones, improves your bone density. And again, I want to mention right now something that before I forget, that about bone density. I have osteoporosis, and I go to a place called OsteoStrong. OsteoStrong is a exercise that was developed by a gentleman whose mother had osteoporosis. The idea that you could do training that didn't put any stress on the joints, and yet it stimulated bone growth, bone density. And the way you did that was by putting 4.5 times the amount of weight on your bones, and if you did that, it would stimulate bone growth. So as these machines, where you do 1 rep, and you have 2 lower body machines, 2 upper body machines, you do 1 rep. So in a leg machine, for example, you might do 1 rep, 2,000, 3,000 pounds. And you got one where you do it this way, and that's like whatever number of hundreds of pounds. And then you have a kind of a deadlift thing, you do this, and then you have another one that you're pulling down. But I've noticed since I've been doing that my tendons and my ligaments have gotten stronger. I used to have the trekking poles. I couldn't even get down a mountain without trekking poles before. Now I can actually run down a mountain without any trekking poles. Not that I would recommend it. I recommend using your trekking poles, but I can get down that mountain without the trekking poles now. And I think it's because of OsteoStrong. So if you know anybody, usually it's a woman, not a man, but usually it's a woman that would have osteoporosis. If you know somebody who has osteoporosis, have them check out OsteoStrong, because it could make a difference to them long term and extend their life. So I wanted to mention that just before I forgot. So bone density, and then improves osteoarthritis outcomes, reduced risk of heart disease. So all these things, folks, hiking is the answer, or at least one of them. Safety. So this is when I want to tell my story about going up to Camp Muir. It was one of my Camp Muir climbs. Well, going up, no problem. I'm coming down, and I believe I had yak tracks on. I'm pretty sure I did. I don't think I went there with nothing. I think I had yak tracks, but this was several years ago. And I hit a place called Pebble Creek, and it was very steep and icy, and I slipped, and I went down really fast into some rocks. Boom! I cut my head, I cut my shins, and I'm laying there. You know, once you fall, you're thinking, okay, what did I break? Well, I didn't break anything. I just was cut up and hit my head pretty hard. So I was lucky. There was an EMT coming up the trail with his girlfriend. He bandages me all up, and I can't find it anymore. I had a picture. Some guy took a picture and sent it to me of me sitting there on a rock with blood coming down my face. It was awful. Anyway, the EMT bandaged me up. He says, get to a hospital within, whatever it is, 8 hours or something. So I go to the hospital, and they do a triage on me, and it was a hospital 8 hours away. So you figure, hey, it's like 3 hours away. But if that long and driving, then you're probably okay. But they put me through the whole thing, and that was fine. But my point is that I did not have these. And if you are going to be on the ice, especially if it is frozen, you better well have at least these. You could have crampons. Crampons, of course, what they use when they go up above 10,000 feet, or sometimes people will use the crampons even going across the snowfields or steep snow. And those are just bigger spikes, and you're usually when they're using those, they're using mountain boots, which are much heavier than a regular hiking boot. And but they can be overkill. For example, for the Muir snowfields, it can be a little bit of overkill. I've done it though; it's nice. Those big boots, they keep if it's cold, they keep your feet nice and warm. And so that's something to consider. You might just prefer crampons, but they could be overkill. And then, so we talked about this already, right? Talked about, that's my story. That's my story. So, safety. Be sure you have your microspikes. And then, what about the bears? Well, hey, you don't have to worry about a bear. Usually, they're going to stay away from you unless it's a mama, as you always heard. If there's a mama bear and some baby bears, and you have to get in between them, you may have a problem. In fact, you will have a problem. So hopefully, you don't get into that situation. That's all I can tell you about that. It's like taking your taking your chances. Cougars is something that I worry about more than I do the bears in our area, because they have killed some people, and they don't really know why they attack. But they tell you that if you confront one, if you see one, they've probably been tracking you for a half an hour already. So they know you're there, and you're no surprise to them. So maintain eye contact, show your teeth, like that, right? And be as loud as you can. They don't like human voices, that scares them. So be as loud as you can, and then you can back away, but maintain eye contact, and you'll probably be fine. So that's how you would handle the cougars. And if you see cougar tracks, you can usually tell because there's no claws. They're just pads because they retract their claws. So you see cougar tracks, you might want to head the other direction. I've only had to have that once, and that was way, way, way out in the bush on the Pacific Crest Trail, and all by myself. And there's cougar tracks, and whoa, I'm not good enough to tell you how old those tracks were, but they did make me a little bit nervous. So I wanted to mention hiking the snow, yak track, microspikes, crampons. Avoid mountains that have a reputation for avalanches. People get carried away. They I want to go climb this mountain. They don't realize that the thing has a reputation for avalanches. Well, you don't go put yourself in that kind of a situation. You don't know when you're going to have an avalanche. So avoid the avalanche areas. I have one mountain I go on with ice and snow, and there's no avalanche problem. I don't mind the ice and the snow, but you want to make sure that you don't go up there someplace where there's an avalanche danger. And also stay on the trail. I was in Alaska once on an expedition. We had a guide, and he took us up bushwhacking, which is going off trail and going into the woods. And I came back from that bushwhacking hike, and I had worms all over me, these little worms and stuff. I want nothing to do with bushwhacking after that, nothing. I stay on the trail, and it's smart too, because you're not going to get lost. You're going to slip, fall, do something that you're going to regret later on. So stay on the trail, folks. And if you are at altitude, if you're even at 5,000 feet or more and you're heading up a Camp Muir situation, or even if you're going to 6,000 feet and for the last 1,000 feet or so, you can do something called pressure breathing. If you find you're having really struggling with your breath, and all you do is you take a deep breath through your nose, and then you blow that air out with pressure, with keeping your lips together. Blow it all out. And take a deep breath, blow it all out, and then take 15 steps. And then do it again. Deep breath, blow it all out. Take 15 steps, deep breath, blow it all out. And you'd be amazed. It helps me so much on Mount Rainier when I'm hiking the Muir up the Muir snowfields, and it's you start to run out of oxygen. And man, if you start pressure breathing, you do 15 steps, pressure breathe 15 steps. You can keep going. Just keep going. You don't have to stop and rest. So if you're finding yourself having to stop and rest, try the pressure breathing. Makes a big difference. Hiking in the rain. So if you're hiking in the rain, and in some of these trails, they have people that come in and maintain the trails, and they'll think they're really doing you a big service by putting these big logs in there, and they'll put a log across the trail where it's like a little bit of elevation, and think you got to step there. So one day, this was years ago, I'm running down the trail, right? And I put my foot, it's raining out, wet, put my foot on this log, and I went up in the air, came down, boom, and cracked vertebra in my back. So the moral to the story is, don't step on the log, step in between the logs on the ground, and you'll be fine, even if you're running. Really important. Oh, and the big one, I should circle this one, but the big one too is pick up your feet, especially if you're running. If you're running, you know, your legs are tired and you're kind of shuffling along running, you're going to hit a rock. I'll tell you how many times I've hit a rock and gone down on my face all bloody, knees all bloody, all of that. Yeah, all of that. So pick up your feet, and you have to pay attention. You have to be conscious of that, because it's so easy to get into this shuffling along. Even when you're running, you're kind of shuffling. You know, feet aren't coming off the ground enough. Keep your phone off, folks. Talk about the bears and the cougars. If you're on your phone, you're not going to know what's coming up. I remember I was coming down the mountain one time, and actually it's happened a couple times, where a young lady's on her phone, and she's on her phone. She's coming up the mountain, but she's like on her phone, and all of a sudden I come by. She goes, "Wah!" Well, what if I was a cougar or a bear? Well, she's done. Say, hey, you got to be awake. Keep all your senses alive. Put the phone in your backpack. Take it out when you get up on the top and you want to take some pictures or something, but keep it in your backpack. Plus, nobody else wants to hear your nonsense that's coming out if you happen to have it, so somebody can hear it. And nobody, you know, it's just bad. And if I ever see anybody on the trail when it's raining with an umbrella, don't do it. I've seen it. I really have seen it. It's unbelievable. So keep your phone on. Don't take an umbrella on the trail when it's raining. And if you're older, work on your balance every day. Your balance is so important. It's the first thing to go when you're older is your balance. So work there. Stand on your foot, on one foot, with your eyes open. It's the first thing to do. Stand on your foot, do it as long as you can with your eyes open, and then switch feet as long as you can with your eyes open. Once you can hold your balance for 2 minutes on each foot with your eyes open, then close your eyes and do it with your eyes closed. And if you can do 2 minutes on each foot with your eyes closed, then you go to a carpeted area. I didn't say that when you first start out, you start on a solid ground, solid linoleum or something like that. And then go to a carpeted area and do the same thing until you get to, you can do 2 minutes with your eyes closed in a carpeted area. Bosu balls, those are the round on the bottom, flat on the top. Those are great. You can stand on those things, and you can stand on one leg on those. Those are great. It gives you keep your balance. They'll help you with your balance. But work on that all the time. Because balance is the first thing to go as you get older. Okay. I don't know why the GPS again, but GPS. Have your GPS with you. So look here, you can. My favorite subject. So you thought all you had to do is go out there and hike, and you were going to get all healthy. Everything's going to work out great. You go hiking, you take care of everything, right? Well, it's better than not doing anything. But in order, if you're going to enjoy yourself on the trail, if you're going to enjoy yourself on the trail and not just feel like you're beat up all the time, you get on hiking, you're just, I'm beat up, I can't do this. You got to do some training. And I'm sure you've noticed this, your training is exercise, right? And so is hiking. It's more exercise. So you need to do more than just hiking. So my training that I do during the week is strength training and walking. So I'll do like elliptical, Stairmaster a couple times a week as well. And I used to do it more often because the gym changed their hours with the COVID thing and all that, I had to change that up. But I walk every morning, and if you're hiking, you want to be walking during the week. I do it every day. If you can't do it every day, if you're going to be hiking once a week, then you want to do like a 90-minute walk once on a Wednesday, for example. And that gives your body used to walking. Otherwise, you forget by the time you're on the weekend shows up. One of the things I do that you can do it if you want, you don't need to, but I call it power hiking. So once a month, I try to beat my time to a particular mountain, and I know how far it is, and what it normally takes me. I keep track of that, and I have a stopwatch. So once a month, I try to beat my time. And then to do that, I'll run the flat areas that are flat, or areas that are not really steep, but say inclined a little bit. So I'm not like a trail runner. They'll run everything, no matter how steep it is. But I just do the ones that, and I have weight on my back, so I'm not gonna go for the really steep ones, but I'll be able to do the moderate inclines. So I run those, and of course I run back down. Rowan Smith is a podcast called the Training for Trucking Podcast. He's an Australian guy, Aussie, right? And he's an expert at this. He takes people on long hikes and he started a podcast that teaches people how to train for hiking. And he's really good. So I recommend you check him out because you can learn a lot more from him, probably than from me, I'm sure, because it's especially for training for hiking. But here's some tips that he gave for on his training podcast. He says how to increase your uphill speed in 4 to 6 weeks. That's important, right? I mean, if you're hiking with somebody else and they're faster, and you want to be able to keep up with them. Some of these young women, especially young women with long legs, and just beat me up. So I want to always increase my hiking speed. So challenge yourself with weight. You put backpack on, or you dumbbells or whatever it is, and you do step ups. And I do step ups. I put this backpack. I got, like I think I said, I got 50 pounds in it right now, and I do step ups on a chair, which is probably, chair is probably up above my knee. And he says you do step ups at different elevations. So, halfway up your shins, up just below your knee. You can have some maybe above your knee. I don't know. He says do step ups this way, lateral step ups. So your regular step ups and lateral step ups, crossover step ups. We'll talk about those. But 4 to 6 weeks. Challenge yourself with 8 reps, heavy pack step ups. You also can do crossovers, like say lateral step ups, aerobic power, and intervals. So you take a stationary bike or elliptical, or go on a run if you're a runner, and then you do 2.5 minutes really fast, and you rest for a minute and a half. Then you repeat 5 to 7 times, and then every time you do it, you go faster or add a set, right? And he says in 4 to 6 weeks, you can believe how much faster you can climb up a mountain. One thing I haven't been doing step-ups, other than what I mentioned, one of the big ones, but I haven't been doing them on smaller steps, and I haven't been doing lateral step-ups. So I'm going to start adding that to my routine, because I think he's got a good point there. And I learned something from him. More training, right? So one more way to increase uphill hiking speed that I didn't mention is nose breathing. Now I talked about nose breathing back, I think, in the mindset video, but Mr. Smith supports that. And what I didn't realize was it would help me to increase my uphill speed. I've been doing it up the mountain now for quite a while. And if you haven't tried it yet, try it. You're just breathing through your nose the whole time. And I do know this, and I mentioned this, I think, in the other module, that it increases your parasympathetic, and it helps you with your heart. So nose breathing is really important. Give it a shot, and I think you'll find it, especially if you want to speed up your uphill times. So step ups, we talked about step ups already. Something halfway up the shins, box to the knee level, just below. Chairs, like I mentioned, regular step ups, lateral step ups, crossover step ups. So look that up online, Google it. There's a video that shows you how to do it, how not to do it. It's dangerous. You can really hurt yourself if you're not careful with the crossovers. It's important to keep the leg that's on the ground close to the chair or the bench that you're using, but it'll show you exactly how to do that and what to avoid if you Google it and watch the video before you give it a shot, because you'll save your knees. Okay? All right, so let's talk about mobility and flexibility. There are 2 books that I highly recommend. One is The Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett. It's like the Bible for mobility. And he has a lot of YouTube videos for free you can watch. And one of my favorite exercises that I learned from him is the couch stretch. So look up the couch stretch, and it'll open you up if you're already pretty flexible, and it'll keep you from just freezing if you're not. The other book I recommend is The Role Model by Joe Miller. The Role Model. So I know I'm going to get to this later, but get some of these balls. Joe Miller, she sells you can get them different sizes. This is one. I have some smaller ones for massage, for self-massage. I think I'm going to get to that here in a second. Yeah, here we go. So, foam rolling and massage. I think I got another one over here. Hang on. So, here's another one of those little little hard ball. And what you do is you just roll it, let's say it's on your arm, you just roll it like this, or on your calves, or on your, in the front of your calves, on anywhere you got pain. And Smith says wherever you got pain, just roll it just above it and just below it, where the pain is. So an inch above and an inch below the pain. So foam rolling is really important. So you can combine these with the foam rolling, do some foam rolling on your calves, and then do this, and then it helps you short term. But it'll make you feel good. You do those things, it'll make you feel good for an hour or two after you do them. But if you combine that with static stretching, find a position, hold it for 30 seconds, it'll improve your mobility over time. So, short-term foam rolling massage, long-term static stretching, and then you can combine that foam rolling with the stretches. And so foam roll your calf, like I said, and then do some stretches. That's good. Then you can do dynamic stretching, which is just a combination. You feel the stretch, and then you go back and forth at different angles. That'll help you too. So these are all from Smith, by the way. Ron Smith. All his examples. All right, let's talk about, you guys have knee pain already, and you got back pain, whatever it might be. But we're focusing on knee pain mainly. Covering my back, though, I mentioned it before. I got 3 herniated discs. By the way, I had asthma when I was a kid. My asthma's gone. And I say that's because I always kept exercising all my life. I used to, when I first started hiking, I used to wheeze when I get close to the top of the mountain. I haven't done that in a long time, and I pushed myself pretty hard. So, like I said, I had 3 herniated discs in my back. It's all healed up. Basically, over time, it takes care of itself. No surgeries, no back surgeries. So knees are my focus because my knees are bad. And I think some of you folks got bad knees, and like I heard a couple people say they wanted to hear more about this because they'd like to get hiking, but they got a bad knee. So this is about knees. Step-ups will strengthen your knees. Lateral step-ups, crossovers, regular step-ups. If you already have knee pain, then slow down. When you're on the trail and you get knee pain, slow down. That's the first thing you do. Shift your weight. Give somebody, I thought he meant shift your weight. I thought he meant you take the pack and move it over here, but that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about taking a bottle of water out of there and giving it to your buddy and have him take it if you can. And then massage. So take a rest every hour or so and take one of these things with you, do a little massage, with the hard massage. He calls them the hard massage balls. And eat more and hydrate. So eat more often. That'll help make a difference too. And don't do too much. So if you got knee pain, you don't want to be doing 3 hikes a week, right? If you got knee pain, I'm not doing 3 hikes a week, so that's probably a good thing. But if you don't have knee pain, hey, go for it. 3 hikes a week, hike every day if you want to, as far as I'm concerned. So again, from Smith, preventing knee pain, calves, ankles, and hips. Focus on those. Focus on get a structured program. Get somebody that can show you how to do a structured program. Usually it includes progressive increases in weight, etc. we talked about holding a stretch for 30 seconds. I think so. Anyway, hold a stretch for 30 seconds. Do stretches that fit your problem. So there are other stretches you can do. You want to, wherever your problem is, you want to do it so it makes a difference to that particular problem. I think if you read Kelly Starrett's book, they'll give you a lot of tips on how to handle that as well. So do stretches that fit your problem. You need to do some walking, if only doing a hike once a week. That's something I learned. I didn't realize. But I walk every day, so it works good. He says, I think I mentioned this before, do a 90-minute walk once on a Wednesday if you're going to just hike once a week. So because your body doesn't remember it after a week if you don't do anything at all. So I do walking every day, and I'm on a Stairmaster. I get on a Stairmaster or elliptical, during the week a couple times anyway. So if your knee flares up, he says rest. But when you're resting it, you also still need to strength train it. And he talks about to rehab. If you go to rehab for knee pain, then it's important. They'll give you a training program, and you go through that, and you rest, and once you do all through that, and you're feeling good, you go back out hiking, and you're right back, and you get pain again. And the reason being, he says, the reason being is that when they tell you, oh, you're ready to hike again, they've tested you on a treadmill. And it's not the same as being up in the mountains, because you've got all kinds of things that are different than a treadmill. So you fail. You have to go out and test it on the trail really before you so strengthen it more. And that's it. I don't think I have anything else. I think we did. So I really appreciate you being here for this, and we've got one more session. After that, you're done. You're free to go. But I hope you learned a lot, and it makes a difference for you, and you can get out on the trail just as soon as possible. And let me know how it goes. Let me know if you're enjoying it. Take some pictures of the sunsets and the sunrises, depending on whether you're early morning or a late hiker. Oh, by the way, if you hike late, make sure that you take a headlamp. Don't think you're going to beat the sunset. You might get stuff there later. I've heard all kinds of bad stories about people running off a cliff at night. So make sure just because you're hiking at night doesn't mean you don't need those headlamps. Bring that headlamp along, because you don't want to wind up in a gully somewhere. So have a good one. Happy hiking. And I will see you in the next module.